This Township of Selwyn Council meeting for February the 24th, 2026 will come to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relation. May we honor those teachings. Please observe a moment of silence of the council staff, members of the public, and quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. I would ask that all comments, suggestions, and answers be directed through me as the chair. This includes the public, staff, and council members. This rainy declaration in the area interest of the general nature thereof. Seeing none, we have the minutes before us for February the 10th, February the 5th, and February the 17th. Everybody had a chance to look at them. There's a mission. If not, I have a motion. Councilor Koulis moving and Deputy Mayor Black seconding. All in favor? That is carried. Is there any discussion out of the minute? None. We will go to our first deputation. That is for the proposed building fees increase. I would ask the manager of building and planning to announce the purpose of the meeting.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and members of the public. Today's public meeting is a statutory requirement under the Building Code Act. Municipality must hold a public meeting for a change in building permit fees. In 2024, when council approved a significant fee increase, it was requested that staff analyze the fee structure with the focus on revenue neutrality and to bring a report forward in 2026. The proposed building fee schedule reflects the result of that analysis. Proposed building fee schedule includes a CPI increase and targeted new fees and increases where cost recovery is not achieved. The township proposes to introduce new fees to partially recover the costs associated with investigation and enforcement through the use of orders. In addition, the township has identified fees associated with renovations do not achieve cost recovery. And an analysis of inspection records has identified an average of 1/3 more inspections required on custom dwellings in excess of 300 meters squared, an average of 18 inspections being required versus 12 inspections for dwellings under 300 meters squared. So those are the primary areas that we've targeted for fee increases. We've additionally introduced a fee for occupancy permits due to changes to Development Charges Act and the Building Code Act. And we're willing to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Are there any proponents in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the proposed fee amendment? Seeing none. Are there any online, Deputy Clerk?
We have no one here for this public. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone here publicly that is opposed to these? None. I will bring it to council. Are there any questions from council? Councilor Blake.
Thank you, Mayor Sennison, through you. One of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was to compare our fees to other townships, to the city of Peterborough, other townships in Peterborough County. And I've seen the report that you've made, and it looks like a number are reviewing their service. I wonder if you would just like make any comments on our fees. I know it's a series of fees that we're talking about, but how we sit compared to others in Peterborough County.
Through you, Mayor Sennis, I'm aware of one municipality that has partially funded through the tax roll. And in addition to that, the other municipalities look to achieve revenue neutrality through the collection of their fees. I did reach out to all 8 municipalities and included in the response was a response I received from 7 of them. With out of those 7, only one of the municipalities is currently not investigating increasing their fees. 5 of them are actively working on increasing their fees because they noted revenue shortfalls in specific areas within their own municipalities. The city of Peterborough is very difficult to compare to us, obviously, because they have a large industrial and commercial base to supplement their revenue sources. I believe our township is predominantly around 85% based on residential permits. So when looking at permit fees and the associated revenue, we not only look to achieve cost recovery on the requirements to service each individual permit, but also to serve the needs of the entire department. So that covers a lot of our overhead expenses, which becomes a challenge to fund the department based on individual cost recovery. Because you're not just looking at that man times and vehicle needs for those individual inspections. So there's a lot of work that goes into an entire comprehensive fee study, the one that was completed in 2021. Based on the analysis that was performed this year, we were just looking to identify areas where we were significantly deficient in revenue.
Right, thank you. If I could, through you, Mayor Sines. So revenue neutrality. So what we were talking about is essentially the building that is being done pays for the costs that the township incurs as a result of that building renovation and the other things being done, as opposed to a principle that would be based upon all of the Selwyn taxpayers essentially paying for those renovations, those additions, and those new buildings. That is the key. What my understanding is, and I'm just asking if I am correct in this, is that essentially we are making sure that the principle upon which these fees are based is established clearly, and then that the fees will then meet that principle, that growth in these areas pay for itself. Am I right in that assumption?
Makes sense. The intent is that the department's revenue from the services that we offer with regard to the issuance of building permits and our enforcement activities pay for the cost that this department incurs, so that it is not a burden on the taxpayer. But
I understand. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Black.
We put a lot of work into this report, and I think council greatly appreciates the comparison work. The challenge is there's no standard approach to doing the fees and trying to get a set of data that matches or you can compare. We're doing meters squared, some are doing per square foot, some are doing per 100,000 of construction value. So it's really challenging to look at and make a decision around where do we sit. I think we sit somewhere in the middle, from what I can see right now. You've done a great job sort of taking scenarios and saying, this is what our permit fee would be, this is what their permit fee would be. So, the consultant, part of the challenge was the consultant recommended moving to per square meter charges back then. Bad timing with everything with COVID and everything else, unfortunately, which has caused some of the issue. But one of the things that you kind of mentioned was obviously the number of permits are down, and that's for everybody across the board. But your violation activity enforcement is up. What do you attribute the increase in violation enforcement? Why do you think that's happening? Because that's causing more costs than what is. There is some enforcement fees, obviously, but it's not probably not enough. So could you maybe let us know why you think that might be happening?
through you, Mayor Sines, a significant number of the complaints that we receive are generated from neighbors of short-term rentals. Those often lead discovery of renovations that occurred without the benefit of permit and misuse of sewage systems. In addition to that, we do receive a number of complaints through the fire department anytime a fire loss occurs, so that ends up typically with some enforcement activities. And then just general complaint activity, so neighbors not getting along with neighbors, putting complaints to the building department. Oftentimes, those are generated through tenant landlord situations, and so we've seen a significant increase in the amount of complaint activities. And those activities do take a lot of staff time, especially end up having to prepare to take legal action on the tools of orders if we do have to prepare for those, if not significant staff hours.
Well, through your mayor. Thank you. Thanks for that, Robert. Again, you know, the inconsistency between municipalities on how they do their building permit calculations. Is there anything through your association? I'm not sure what that is, but trying to standardize the approach. So again, we're comparing apples to apples, because again, you put a lot of work into this, clearly, but it still takes a lot of work to look at it and say, yeah, we're in the ballpark, we're in the right ballpark for our fees. Is there any approach from your association or lobbying groups that are trying to standardize the approach?
Through you, Mayor Samus, we have our provincial association, the Ontario Building Officials Association. While they offer good supports for some particular issues, this is the one that's directly being tackled by them. There is a large municipal chief building officials association, which we're not a member of, that have a lot of collaborative conversations. We do get snippets at our associate meetings from members of the city of Peterborough that are involved with that. We have greater discussions around those topics with the other large municipalities of the province. It's very difficult for us because our local comparators aren't actually comparative in size to us. So when we're reflecting on what our local municipalities do, we're kind of an outlier. We're much smaller than the city of Peterborough, but we're significantly larger than other lower tiers. So local comparison is not extremely effective because there's staffing considerations, the amount of activity.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Robert? If not, we have a recommendation before us to receive the report and that we, subject to any, we don't have any revisions, endorse the proposed building from rate as detailed in this report. Can I see that recommendation? You, Councillor Henry, moving it. Councillor Cool is seconding it. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Move on to our next, we have to wait until 1:30 to begin next public meeting, because that's the way it is shown on our website. So it gives an opportunity for anyone else who's expecting us to start at 1:30 to be here. So we're going to carry on with our agenda and come back to that 1:30. Question period. Was there any questions that were, sorry? Yes, you think. Are there any questions for question?
No questions.
Much. We will move on to our final adoption of the budget and PSAB compliance report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council is aware we had a full day, well, I guess it wasn't a full day, better part, it seemed like a full day to me, half day meeting.
You too.
And to review the budget, taxation and area rates. There was one amendment coming out of that meeting, and so it's taken a bit of time for us just to go back through and remove the manager of development services, which was a proposed position to phase in halfway through the year. So we've removed that. It touched a number of different departments. And there is a package of information attached to the report. So we have accomplished that at this point in time. We included a number of specific working papers and edits to the budget narrative. Assuming adoption today, then we'll work with our staff and Angie's department to make sure that the website's totally up to date afterwards. We did take some time to clarify some reporting matters related to the link. And I think that there is a resolution coming forward, or a notice of motion coming forward later today for council. So I think that we feel fine the way that the document is right now, and based on council direction, we're bringing it back today for adoption. Really, this would allow us to pull together not only this rate, the county rate, which I understand was just approved recently, based on our tax ratios, and we had combined those with the various other rates, and we bring forward a taxation bylaw at a future council meeting. You did mention the TCA compliance report, which is there, and so that report essentially takes it from a cash-based budget that we need to develop to create a tax rate, to then through to a PSAP compliant using full accounting criteria with respect to amortization, partial building permit recognition, different things like that. So that's what's provided in the report as well. It reduced the net tax levy down to 4.55%. And I'd be available for any other questions.
Through you, Mayor Sennis, I don't have a question. All I wanted to say was to thank Lane and his staff and all of the staff who worked hard for months putting all of this together, and along with the other council members when we were discussing it. I think the discussions were robust, and we've come up with a budget that that I can fully support. So I would like to move the recommendation.
Right. Question. Right, yeah. Okay, motion. All right, we just will have a discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And it's carried. On to Tanya Goncalves for the tariff.
Good afternoon. Council is familiar with this report as it comes to council every year, and it reviews our various fees throughout all of our departments. Done my best to try to outline where the fees have come into play and where the direction has come from council, either to do a CPI update on the annual basis or changes based on various resolutions. So I can take any questions that council may have.
Questions? Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sennis. Thanks for this, Tanya. Given that the level 2 under general fees, given that the general fees, given the level of 2 EV charging fees that were established at $1.50 an hour back in 2024, what are the financial implications of maintaining this rate? Has hydro increased, effectively operating margins, margin current total annual operating cost for the transaction? For the current rate structure, financial sustain.
Thank you. Good question. I'll forward that to Ange because she deals with that specifically, but I do know that Lily did review that prior to it coming forward and deciding to maintain that, but yeah, we'll have all that.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I don't think there's much more that I can add to it. So we did take a look at it. We want to make sure that that rate is covering our costs, and it does. We're not trying to, really make a whole lot of money on it. We want it to be affordable and encourage people to use it. So we will take a look at that each and every year to make sure that we are covering our costs.
Thank you, yes. Right. Under Department 12, landfill rates, I noticed we got aquatic vegetation, which includes, wild rice with all weights, no charge. Could this also include any of the invasive species? Like that's, actually taken out.
So this came, as, it's really aquatic weeds. I don't know, I'm assuming it would be included.
Yeah, so I could just clarify the aquatic weeds, that was weeds that were sort of coming up onto shore. So I don't know that invasive species just naturally come loose and end up on the shore. That would be something I think we'd have to maybe bring back to council if there was going to be a mechanical removal of them. I think council would need to decide whether they wanted to include that as part of that free offer.
And as we're doing the spraying, I guess, to start. Also under landfill, disaster debris set at 40% current. payments. My understanding of disaster debris and emergency management is based upon what the debris was, but what it becomes after the incident. What is the definition of disaster debris? And how or who would get a deciding authority on its classifications directly impacts MECD compliance, insurance, documentation, disaster assistance.
Yeah, so this would come into effect once we declare there is so if that declaration isn't made by the municipality, which follows certain guidelines, so when we do that. Sorry, I'm just gonna ask that, give me 1 second. Sorry.
So that 40% reduction, that's really for an individual property. So that's really contemplated. Say if somebody had a fire and they needed to bring that disaster debris to the landfill, that's the intention around what that covers. As Tanya did mention, we have had free drop off for debris when it's been a municipal wide event. So just wanted to be clear, two different things.
Thank you, because I would just eliminated the next question. But thank you. Last one I want to look at is Department 16 with the Lakefield Campground. We've been here for whatever 4 years of council now. And the Lakefield Campground has had 3 different managing partners overseeing them. Got a lot of change in services, a lot of change in pricing. Historically, these rate decisions have relied on third-party cost analysis, revenue projections. Now that the caretaker responsibilities of day-to-day operations managed internally, we do have an opportunity to assess actual performance under township oversight. Before implementing any additional rate increases, I think it would be prudent to freeze campground rates for 1 season. Conduct a full operational and financial review at the year end. This approach would allow council to base future pricing decisions on verified results, not assumptions, and ensure that any adjustments are supported by demonstrating cost pressures or revenue realities. Kind of sounds like a motion.
Yeah, so it's certainly council decisions to what those fees would be. I can let Mike speak to it further, but it's what essentially the staff did is they took the fees that were charged by Orca last year and simply increased it by cost of living. And again, also just to keep us revenue neutral and trying to cover our costs. But if Mike has anything to add to that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think Cameron answered it very well. That was the process that we took. There had been 3 increases the Orca years. And then just had the CPI from this calendar.
Follow up, thank you through you. With those CPI increases, have we exceeded CPI limits over the 3 years? Strictly been CPI.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just weigh in. I think what we're trying to accomplish at this year is, that CPI is at 2.1%. We're just, and we know that the majority of our work there's a lot of wage. With 1.8. We're just trying to keep it roughly this sort of thing. We've been in situations before we froze rates for a couple of years. Now, some 2 years in, we're looking at 6-7%. So we're trying to do that slow, steady. Take what I talked about.
Thank you, just that. Thank you.
Your Mayor Sanders, yeah, just to follow up on Councillor Henry's questions around what we're charging. I've asked in the past, comparators, something again, to make sure that we're within the market range for the type of campground that we're offering. That we haven't really got that information in the past, so I think for next year's budget, that's something I think that should be included. Comparison of rates, so we're kind of blindly asking the question, is this the number? Is this going to keep us competitive? Is this going to keep the campground full? So we maximize the campground, so just a better understanding of the market there and where we sit in the market, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, so I think for sure we agree and we've talked about that. I think this is our first crop. Wanted that comparison, we did work to do that comparison with data.
Thank you through you, Mayor Sanders. Just for perspective on this conversation on the Orca board, Deputy Mayor Black and I said, we were looking at the rates that Orca is going to be charging for the other campgrounds that it is still maintaining, Beavermead and the caves, and both of them are going up by CPI. Just information for this conversation.
Right, there are no other questions. Actually, I have one question, with regards to marriage, like, how many? Oh, I'm curious. Don't do it.
Sorry, I actually don't want to guess. We really have increased the number of marriage licenses that we issue because we now have a new online system. So a lot of people can just go online, fill out the information, they come in, it doesn't take too long to process it. So I can get you that number. I just don't want to guess at it.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I think there are a lot more marriage license costs, so, okay, it's worth noting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, we have a recommendation before us. Is there someone who please that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councillor Poulos, all in favor, and carried. Thank you very much. That worked very nicely. So, back to zoning bylaw, amendment 2730 Drive. And please note that staff report is recommending that no decision be made today on this application. Council will instead use this time to listen to and gather feedback from the public. So I will now pass it over to Pear to announce the Pear.
Your worship. The Council of the Township of Selwyn is holding a public meeting today in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act in order to consider one zoning amendment application today, as your worship stated, for 2731 Edward Drive. Prescribed notice of public meeting was provided via prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 120-meter radius of the property subject to the application, as well as by a sign still posted on the subject property. The notice was also available on the township website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the plan. A person or public body would otherwise have the ability to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of Selwyn, but does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Selwyn in respect of the zoning bylaw amendment before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the zoning amendment. The person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Sorry, Pear, can you just speak right into the mic and speak as loudly as you can? We have
Okay.
folks that can, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of Selwyn in respect of the proposed zoning amendment before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the zoning bylaw amendment, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Township of Selwyn in respect of the proposed zoning amendment, you must make written request to the township providing your name and address or email address. So I'm going to just summarize a little bit briefly my planning report. We do have a number of comments that were in the planning report and included in that package. I won't go into detail on those. Council will have had an opportunity to review those. We did receive an additional 9 comments over the weekend that were not in my planning report. So I'll briefly summarize those in the interest of time and get on to any other comments that may be coming in today. Staff are recommended the deferral, as your worship noted, just to make sure that we duly consider any additional comments, including those additional comments that came in sort of later in the week, last week and over the weekend. So the purpose of the zoning amendment is to permit what our zoning bylaw considers as a type B home occupation, specifically a chiropractic office. Within the Lakeshore residential zone of the subject property, only type A home occupations are permitted, which is your home office type home occupations. Additionally, the amendment is also needed in order to permit this type B home occupation within an accessory structure. The zoning amendment proposed is the Lakeshore residential zoning is remaining. This is a site-specific exception for this type of home occupation. In addition to those permissions, we are, through the amendment, specifically regulating the maximum area of the home occupation in this accessory structure to 85.4 square meters. We're further reducing the front yard setback for the building to 1.43 meters, which is the as-built site front yard setback for the building. There was some carelessness in the construction phase of the approved garage that Committee of Adjustment approved in 2022 with a 2.77 meter front yard setback. So we're just addressing that discrepancy through the zoning amendment as well. Sorry, too many papers here. Here, I'm just finding my report. Here we go. So we do have comments of no concern through a variety of agencies, including Enbridge, the County of Peterborough Planning, Development and Public Works Department, Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board, and Parks Canada. We have comments in support of the proposal from Paul Courtney, Deborah Susie, John and Jean Drain, Susan Whitney and Jeff Towns, and Dan Rossborough. Opposed to the application are Pat Newson, Paulette Wanamaker, Paula Desjardins, Sanja Kuzmanovic, Catherine and Brian Holland, Brenna O'Brien, Claire McDonald, and Robert Erdley, Brenda Ron, and Steve Wachowski, and Ralph Reed. The Environment Council for Clear, Stony, and White Lake have also submitted comments of concern, and the Association of Stony Lake Cottagers have submitted comments in opposition to the amendment. I will say that generally in my report, I from a planning policy analysis perspective, I find that the proposal conforms to the official plan for the township, as well as is consistent with the provincial planning statement. And I am recommending approval once the matter comes before council before decision. With regard to the additional comments, we have additional opposition comments that came in after the preparation of the report from Appleton, Legend and Kahn, Bonner, Foster, Hicks, Hill, Newton, and Williams. And Dr. Luckenuk has also prepared some additional comments. So I'll just briefly go through those. So from Mr. Bonner, he's opposing them from a number of reasons, including that it's precedent setting for what is deemed an incompatible use to the area. He's worried about scale creep, that there'd be future expansions of the business, enlarging it, pedestrian and child safety. Infrastructure concerns, maintenance, lack of pedestrian infrastructure, private road and infrastructure burden, emergency access and liability, parking overflows, stormwater runoff, septic loading, increased boat traffic and aquatic safety, noise and enjoyment impacts, nutrient loading, likely tied to the septic concerns, right? Again, reiterating parking and spill overflows concerns and enforcement practicality. Well, there's a number of concerns there. Len Williams has concerns similar regarding pedestrian use of the roadway, as well as traffic concerns. And his recommendation is the business should go to Lakefield. Jim Newton believes this is an unreasonable precedent, is concerned about the timing of the application in the winter when most residents of the area are away. And the proposed use of the building is a far cry from the garage that was previously approved through the building permit. Steve Hill is opposed. He just gets into some discussion or using the 4 tests of a minor variance, which would not be appropriate in this case, but he has some discussion using those criteria. Some of his concerns are, again, the private road issue, traffic, maintenance, etc. He's also concerned about real estate values, commercial traffic. And that's about the extent of Mr. Hill's comments. Sorry. I believe this is, this is Holly Blefgen and Steve Kahn. Again, private road maintenance and traffic concerns. Again, the timing, concerned about timing of the public meeting in the winter when seasonal residents are away. Not endorsing a commercial practice in a residential area. Concerned about the precedent for other properties doing the same. Traffic, conflicts with pedestrians, people running, cycling, nature viewing along the road. The landowner's responsibility towards maintaining the road. So that question would be directed at Dr. Lukanook. Additional vehicle traffic, septic system concerns, boat access to the property concerns, protection of the bay, the sensitive bay. And then just overall concerned about, in her last statement, about the compatibility of the proposed use with a relaxing and restorative neighborhood. Moving on to, let's see here. This is comment from Arnold Foster. Concerned about the size of the structure. Concerned about the adequate parking. Some discrepancies, concerned about some discrepancy in the reported distance from the end of the publicly maintained road and this site, which is on the privately maintained portion of Tedford Drive by the proponent. So just pointing out an error. He's pointing out some policy sections in the new official plan because it was in the planning justification report from DM Wills. However, as council is aware, the new official plan for the township is not in effect yet, so it would not be applicable. Concerned about floodplain issues and the siting of the of the building. Again, septic system concern, traffic hazard comes up again. And that's mostly what's in that letter. Moving on to Greg Appleton is strongly opposed to the development. Feels that the amount of gross floor area for the home occupation is excessive. Believes that the garage is a behemoth of a structure, quote unquote. He's concerned about the number of employees on the site. He feels it's a big clinic. It's concerned about parking and whether the 5 spaces as required by our zoning is adequate. concerned about the proponent having permission from the cottage association, the road association for the use of the road for this particular use. Septic system concern. Vehicle traffic, again, parking space concerns comes up again. And then the potential compatibility with pedestrians and the like walking on the road, as well as I'll summarize it as roadkill concerns like snakes, frogs, red foxes, and other wildlife being run over by traffic concern. Also noise concerns, noise and chaos, quote unquote. And I think that's pretty much Greg Appleton's main points. And then we did also, in addition, just on the 20th would be Monday, I think, receive Autonomy Region Conservation comments of no concern, confirming no concern. The comments received by council in the agenda package was the pre-consultation letter, but this letter confirms their point of view of no concern regarding the proposed development. Those are my comments. We'll get on to the public meeting portion and give people an opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right. We will now, I understand the agent is here. Those. Can I have your name? Sorry. Would you like to add anything to comments that have been given? Can you please go to the microphone?
It's already on. Okay. Yep, I see it. Okay, great. So good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, staff, members of the public. My name is Amanda Timmermans. As I mentioned to Mayor Sennis, I'm a intermediate land use planner with DM Wills, based out of Peterborough. I also live in Selwyn. And so I'm just here to represent the property owner and provide a little bit further justification and address some of the comments that have been received to date. Not the ones that were received over the weekend, but there's a lot of them. So if you're not familiar with the subject property, it's 2731 Tedford Drive. It's located just down the end, right by the private road area by Bay Lane. The history of the file. So there was a building permit. There was a building permit issued, a minor variance issued. The minor variance was issued to address a increase in height from maximum of 4 meters to 6 meters in the bylaw, reduce the minimum front yard setback and a minimum setback from the center line of the road. Through the building permit application and the inspection process, it was discovered that the builder constructed it actually closer to the road. And so the property owner had to have a surveyor go out and pin as-built corners of those of the as-built building in order to represent that going forward. So those measurements have been incorporated into our proposed zoning amendment. The minor variance was back in 2022 and the permits were issued May 2023 with occupancy sometime 2024. Long history. Yeah, occupancy and final inspection March 2024. So just a little bit of a project overview and a summary of our planning justification report. So the zoning bylaw amendment application is to allow a home occupation, which is typically required to be located within the main dwelling of a property, to be allowed in the accessory structure. similar to the way home industries are permitted to be in an accessory structure. To and also, as I mentioned, to recognize those as built deficiencies. The specific amendments requested are, so the type B home occupation, which is like medical clinics. I believe it says up to 1 employee. The intent there is just to have the 1 practitioner on site at all times. So the provision in the bylaw, the occupancy for gain or profit cannot be conducted out of an accessory dwelling. So our application is proposing to waive that. The height is recognizing the minor variance that was approved at 6 meters, 6.06 meters. The minimum front yard setback is 1.43 meters as pinned by the surveyor and provided in the letter attached to our planning justification report. The minor variance had previously approved a 2.77 meter setback there. So that the discrepancy that they discovered through the building and inspection process. The property owner has been working with the builder and trying to get them to be accountable for that with not a lot of progress there. And then as well, the minimum southerly side yard setback, we're going to put it in the bylaw as 3 meters. It's typically 1.2 meters for an accessory structure. So that just, we're going to recognize the existing setback there. And then the minimum setback for the center line of the road. And that's just calculated based on that front yard setback as well. So site development, so the accessory structure floor area is approximately 85 square meters. So it's about 918 square feet. That's the ground floor area. It's approximately 800 square feet in loft space. But we are only proposing that 85 square meters of ground floor area be for the home occupation use. The property has about 66 meters of frontage, again, along that private section of Tedford Drive. And then also just to speak to that, we initially thought that, and this is the error in the planning justification report, we initially thought the property fronted on a municipal maintained section of Tedford Drive. The resources available to us include the county GIS mapping, which is typically fairly accurate and usually updated fairly current for the maintenance. And so the maintenance actually showed that it went past Bay Lane on that portion. So our initial planning justification report did state that it's on a municipally maintained portion. We've since confirmed with Public Works Maintenance staff that the public maintained portion ends about 3 lots in front of the subject property, about 2739. So the township still owns the road. As I mentioned, GIS indicated the township maintain that road. So there are private road policies that limit development in the zoning bylaw, but it doesn't restrict the home occupations and uses on said property. The use of the accessory does remain accessory. I think in a lot of the comments that were received, we saw a gross over exaggeration of the scale of this business. The intent here really is for the property owner to retire, still see a couple patients when he's at the cottage, semi-retired, no longer practicing in Peterborough. Yes, the Peterborough clinic is much larger of an operation. There would be no additional staff. And I think we're going to get into some operations questions here, but basically it would just be a satellite office somewhere where the practitioner can see locals, and it would be 1 patient at a time, by appointment only. So there's not going to be a commercial level of traffic on Tedford Drive. The proposed office hours right now, max 2 to 3 days a week, with about 3 hours per day. The property owner is very flexible on those. If anybody has any suggestions or if they want to limit those operating hours, we're more than happy to negotiate an agreement or something with the township. Number of patients versus the traffic flow. So there'd be about 6 to 10 patients per day. A typical appointment is 15 to 30 minutes for a chiropractor. And with like new patients or a more fulsome assessment is about half an hour to 40 minutes. So based on that, he could see up to 10 patients in a day with only 1 patient at a time. So there's never going to be 5 patients backed up and parked there. There's never going to be hundreds of additional traffic on the road, creating any onerous traffic issues there. To address some of the other comments, with regards to the septic system, we did obtain clearance from Peterborough Public Health for the initial garage, which contained the washroom, so sink and a toilet. That was on the building permit. It was part of the permit application and review by Peterborough Public Health back in 2023. We've since been working with the chief building official on the preliminary sewage system analysis, which I understand is an evaluation that happens at the building permit stage. So once the zoning amendment gets approved, then the property owner has to move forward with a change of use building permit, and we'll have to address some of the issues with the washroom at that point in time. But the chief building official at this time has no concerns based on the preliminary information that we've provided. Yeah. Okay. So this is just a photo. So this here is where, we're 2739 here. So this is where the private development ends at that little corner. So see how this shows the yellow, that's the municipally maintained portion, and then this is the private portion is set for drive that continues. So this is the resource that municipal planners, consultant planners, and everyone uses. And it wasn't identified at the pre-consultation stage that it was a private road. So those kinds of considerations weren't initially considered. But given it's only a frontage of 3 lots, and the proponent already contributes to the private maintenance of that road, I don't think the impacts there from this business are going to be that strenuous and put pressure on the association in terms of road maintenance and traffic. So this here is the photo of the additional parking spaces. There's still, so we were at the site, we measured the 5 parking spaces here. One of them is associated a barrier-free parking space. There's also additionally 2 locations for 2 more parking spaces. Obviously, with only 1 patient at a time, maybe 2 of those spaces are going to be used at any one time. The residential parking is separate from the home occupation parking. This is just a copy of the site plan. I mentioned so many spaces and lots of survey underlaid. So the survey was done when the building was renovated. So yeah, you can see that we've done our best to make an accurate outline of the site plan to meet the zoning.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sorry. Amanda, can you, if you're speaking not into the mic, you could take the mic off because people can't hear you online. Sorry about that.
I think I'm done now anyways. So that concludes our presentation. I'd welcome the property owner to come up and speak to some of the more personal issues I think that have been raised through some of the comments. But from a planning perspective, we concur with Per, the township planner, and recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw to allow the property owner to
to operate his satellite office in preparation for retirement, is really the intent of this change of use within the accessory building, and then to recognize those as-built setbacks that we discussed.
I'll just make a quick comment to council. I didn't summarize Doug's letter, as I noted that he had sent in something prior to today's meeting, but after my report, Doug is here today, so I suspect he'll address his points in his presentation.
Thank you. Available for any questions?
Of course.
Thank you. Would you like to take the microphone? Give us your name and your address, please, for the record.
Yes, it's Dr. Doug Luckenock. I live at 2731 Bedford Drive. I'm a chiropractor, obviously, and with your permission, your worship, I'll refer to you as the chair and Deputy Mayor Black, esteemed councillors. Obviously, great support staff, planning department, and super extra reports out. I can speak pretty loudly as long
No,
as.
but they can't hear you
They can't
online.
hear?
You have to use it.
Okay,
Yeah,
no, I can just hold it if that's
sure.
okay.
It's better. Close to your
I
mouth.
can sing too if needed, but I'll empty the room quickly. Your worship and also public members and as well neighbors and people with any concerns that I obviously want to address today. So I just like to go through because there's obviously been some information or that people weren't aware of or thinking this was some kind of big practice. So I'm going to be here and in support of our application for a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment, file C-0226, to allow a small owner-operated chiropractic practice as a home occupation in the existing accessory structure. The proposal is straightforward and very low impact. I plan to use, as has been already stated, about 85 meters squared or 918 square feet in the accessory building that was already permitted in 2022 for a small chiropractic clinic and a small gym area for rehab of people when they need to be shown exercises and to make sure we keep our residents healthy. It will be used solely by me. I'm the resident practitioner with no additional employees, no walk-ins, appointments strictly by booking only. Typically, as was already stated, 2 to 3 days per week. I would be looking at with just 3 to 4 hours per day. I would think, these are just my thought process, an average of 4 to 8 clients per day. So to a maximum of 10 on a busy day. This is just keeping my hands on and trying to help and serve, as I've always done through my career, people on the lake and in that region and keep people well. The facility remains, and that again, I'm open to suggestions or recommendations by any council members and input from the public as well. It remains fully indoors. That addresses any of the noise complaints or anything people were discussing previously. No exterior changes or increased impervious services beyond what's already there. This amendment is needed because the Lakeshore Residential Zone does not currently permit this type of home occupation in an accessory structure, as has been stated previously. However, it does meet all the key tests of Section 34 of the Planning Act. It is minor in nature. The use occupies only a portion of an existing building on a private residential lot with no new construction or major alterations. It is desirable for the appropriate use of the land. It provides accessible local health care in an underserved cottage community, supporting aging residents and seasonal visitors who currently drive 30 to 60 minutes, in some cases longer than that, to get to my clinic or other clinics in the region. It maintains the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, both by the county of Peterborough and the township here locally. Policies encourage low impact, compatible uses in lakeshore areas that protect nature heritage, promote community well-being, and minimize environmental disruption. This aligns with also post-COVID trends with more home-based services. It causes no adverse impacts. My consultants' reports with planning, justification, site plan, archaeological studies, confirm compliance, including the parking that has already been demonstrated. No septic or stormwater changes that would be needed, and no lake access or boat, which again, was a concern in some of these complaints, but that's not what we're looking to do. I addressed also the concerns raised by some of my neighbors and that are around me through the Juniper Point Cottage Association letter directly. I sent them a letter as it appeared very overstated and unrelated to really what we were doing. As a member in good standing of the association, I was disappointed that they didn't reach out to me and simply ask what's going on or getting questions that could have saved a lot of time right now. I did send them a letter asking someone to communicate with me. I haven't yet had any communication back from the association. So a lot of these points could have been addressed through simple dialogue with the community. As far as traffic and pedestrian safety, with booked appointments and off-street parking, added trips are minimal, far less than typical seasonal traffic for existing residential uses. Tedford Drive is county maintained road. That last bit now we're determined as private. The septic stormwater drainage and invasives, again, we're not going into the lake. The accessory building was approved. I have done a lot of work to make sure the drainage has done properly, just so the committee and neighbors are aware. We actually talked to the association, working with them years ago, because the roads were washing out with my road, my neighbor to the right and my neighbor to the left. We are in a bit of a lull. And so we worked with them, saying we put a culvert underneath, have the association do that, and then work with the current neighbor who was there, who's no longer there, to put a nice O-pipe onto the lawn and make sure drainage was all done properly through the lake, because it was a low area, so we could save the road every year from being washed out and having to be replaced. So that had been done previously. So it's a quiet nature of the bay. We also have, this is indoor, appointment only, quieter than most recreational activities already occurring on Stony Lake. We have things, lovely things such as stand-up paddleboard yoga, where cars have to get to and come, and they go on the lake and are involved with the lake. We have I think the wonderful Summer Soul in the Kawarthas, where we have people going to see artists in their house. We have lots of different amounts of traffic that come through with similar type of businesses. Yet they're accepted as compatible. Comparatively, Stony and Clear Lakes holds these, excuse me there. Similarly, I see actually on Tedford Drive, we have created public walking trails, which I think are great. I see vehicles coming in and out of Tedford Drive every day, yet I had never had a letter from my association saying we have to look at that, or at least trying to get any input from me as a member, and which again, I don't have a concern with, because it's a safe and enjoyable use for people, both private and public. Importantly, I think one of the most important, this practice, if you understand what I do, and if people could communicate, is actually offers net environmental and community benefits. By that, I mean, we're reducing travel emissions by diverting 30 to 60-minute drives to Peterborough. Healthcare related patient travel contributes significantly to carbon emissions. There was a US study showing this, millions of tons annually from such trips. Local care drops that footprint down quite a bit. Chiropractic care also significantly reduces medication use in multiple studies. So we help keep people out of the hospital, so we're not overwhelming that system as well. And decreasing pharmaceutical pollution. If we want to worry about our water, one of the biggest long-term issues is pharmaceuticals, not that we just throw away, but we ingest and go through into the system, that are very difficult to get out of our watershed system. I personally educate patients daily on sustainable living. I eat as much as I can local organic. I shop at local farmers. We reduce household toxins through our house as much as we can. I have given over 100 lectures promoting cleaner lifestyles that benefit the community and, of course, the watershed. My household uses electrical vehicles and lawn equipment, minimizing emissions compared to many area properties, including some that use rentals and outbuildings that bring other gas vehicles to the area too. So there are other businesses already in the region. So in summary, this is a responsible, low-intensity use that enhances community health, aligns with planning goals for waterfront protection. It delivers environmental gains with negligible downsides. I am open to reasonable conditions, such as changes in hours or timing with cottage flow, There will be no external changes, and I do welcome ongoing dialogue with neighbors. I want my neighbors to be happy if possible, but I also want to deliver my expertise and healing in a healing environment, which I believe the lakes are very healing for all of us. So thank you for your consideration. I do appreciate any questions and look forward to any positive decision that supports local sustainable healthcare in Selwyn Township. Thank you.
Much, and you are going to stay for any.
Oh, sure.
questions. Yeah. So I come back to, the group. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, now I will go to those that are opposed to this application. If you wish to speak, up to the microphone, give us your name and address. And I just want to let the group know that we have several people that are online that are going to want to speak as well. So, is there someone that would like to take the microphone? I have to move it down now.
Hi. My name is Lana Jones and I live at 3563 Harbor Point Lane, which is in that area of down the private road. Well, I really appreciate that you want to set this up and benefit from having it close to where you are on the water. It just concerns me for 2 or 3 reasons, in addition to what everybody's written in. It's more the tone and manner for me. I dedicated my life to being able to, I lived in Toronto, to move up here. I classify it, I live in the bush, but I happen to be on a small bay on Stony. And the environment of that is what I'm truly enjoying. And I just feel that, you know, when you drive into our community, all of a sudden there's this larger structure. It's beautiful, garage and everything, but all of a sudden it's going to change the tone of what I drive into and where I live. And the other thing that isn't mentioned on the visual of the map is the private road just begins there, like 100 or 200 feet in. But there's a park that goes from the top of Juniper Point, which is our street end. Sorry, I'm terrible at standing.
Over by the bike.
I'm terrible at standing up and I'm very tired. I just got a puppy. We have this beautiful park that a lady donated. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but I'm in that park all the time with my dogs and my grandchildren. And the entrance to that park is 200 yards or maybe 400 yards within the distance of seeing the new building and the garage. That's where we go in with our kids and dogs. So the traffic does worry me a bit because it's all curvy. So when I'm coming out of the park with the kids and the dogs, I'm always really worried because people do come in pretty quick there. And now I know it's not that many people, but it's your benefit. It's not going to benefit everybody else who's put their money in the basket of retiring up there. And it's if you can do it, well then what's going to happen later on? Anyway, so the entrance to the park is a big concern for me because of the busyness and in and out and just the tone and manner. And I don't want to upset anybody and I really want you to do well, but could you just do it maybe somewhere else? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this? Can you go up to the mic again and direct your questions through me, please? You have to go to the mic. There are people that are online that are trying to listen and they won't be able to hear you if you're not talking.
This is a drawing, legal survey drawing done by Pearson Pierce. This shows us our little community. You can see the road from Mendon, how small our community is. The dead end is here. And the said property is, I apologize, right here. Thank you very much.
Can you give us your name, sir,
Dead end
sir,
there.
sir? Can you give us your name and your address? please?
Arnold Foster, 3567 Harbor Point Lane,
Thank you.
which is right in here. So the said property is lot 17. Every one of these properties on this 1.5 lane road drives by this building. Everybody see that?
Yep.
This drawing is in this building. I got it from this building. Thank you. I've been a member of the association, on the association, in one form or another for 21 years. Never received an email or not, or have I ever met this man. And I'm gonna ask everybody here, has any of us ever received or seen an email? We're all members of the association. I'm gonna keep it short. Herb Lundberg did very well on reading everybody's concern about traffic, environment. The main concern is we can't set a precedent. We really can't. Where's it gonna stop? Honestly. Folks, this just is not right. Use your hearts. This is not right. It's not gonna stop if we set this precedent. We're a privately maintained little association. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this application? What's your name and your address, please, ma'am?
Brenda Ron, 2727 Tedford Drive. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the hearing committee, and the public. My name is Brenda Ron, and I'm a permanent resident at 2727 Tedford Drive. Thank you. I also serve as an environmental steward for the Juniper Point Cottage Owners Association. This opposition is not about one neighbor's application, but about protecting the shorelines and all the waterfront communities from this precedent-setting amendment. We respectfully oppose this application. This lakefront residential zoning exists to preserve the quiet environmental sensitivity of shoreline areas. Introducing business activity in an accessory building weakens that intent. Once this line is crossed, similar applications become harder to refuse, and cumulative impacts begin to erode the very character the zoning bylaw was designed to protect. Juniper Point Bay is a fragile shoreline ecosystem. Increased traffic, boat activity, and wastewater from expanded use of all carry environmental risks. Planning policy requires protection of water quality and confirmation of adequate servicing, including septic capacity. Our roads are narrow cottage roads designed for residential use. Increased commercial traffic creates safety concerns. Our quiet bay is used by swimmers, paddlers, and wildlife. Additional traffic changes, safety, and noise conditions hinder the enjoyment of the cottage community owners. Neighborhood compatibility is a core planning principle. Juniper Point Bay's culture is one of environmental respect and quiet enjoyment. Introducing commercial activity into an accessory building changes noise levels, lighting, and community character. Residents rely on zoning stability to protect environmental health and property expectations. Changing zoning without compelling need undermines trust and creates pressure for future similar applications in Lakeshore residential communities. We respectfully ask the hearing committee to deny this amendment in order to protect shoreline ecosystems, maintain the intent of lakefront residential zoning, avoid harmful precedents, and protect community safety and character. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
I also want to just mention to Doug that we have not received any email from you. If you addressed it to the president of JPCOA, he has not shared that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? You know the drill.
My name's Steve Hill. I live at 2723 Bay Lane, Mayor. I'm not going to read everything I have here. A lot of it's been covered. I just want to read my last paragraph I have in the letter that I sent earlier. And that relates to the demonstrable impact on waterfront property values. Waterfront real estate values in Selwyn Township are highly sensitive to traffic intensity, privacy, and predictability of land use. The introduction of sustained commercial traffic, client parking onto a private waterfront road materially alters these conditions. Based on typical appraisal responses in comparable Ontario waterfront markets, properties affected by commercial traffic intrusion on private residential roads can experience value reductions in the range of approximately 8 to 15%. In situations where traffic levels are sustained at the upper range proposed and the commercial use becomes permanent in character, impacts in the range of 15 to 20% have been observed due to buyer pool reduction and diminished waterfront premium. Even the perception of commercial encroachment narrows market demand and places downward pressure on sale prices.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak that is sitting in front of us? Seeing none, we will now go to the virtual people that are waiting to speak. And I would ask each of you to give me your name and your address before you speak. And if someone has already given, if we've received a number of reasons why people are opposing this, if it's something that's already been said, it isn't really necessary to repeat it. So we'll go to the first person. And who would that be?
We have Claire McDonald.
Claire McDonald.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Claire McDonald and I am at 2756 Beaver Lane. And I did submit a letter prior to the deadline for the council packet. I will say that pretty much everything that I outlined in that letter has been covered by the previous people speaking against the amendment. And so basically, I stand by our reasons why this should be denied. It just does not seem like a good fit for the neighborhood. And I really do question the validity of comments about this being having any positive environmental impact, footprint. Presumably, the clients are going to be traveling from Peterborough to Lakefield. So I don't really see how that math adds up. But for all the other reasons that have been mentioned, my husband, Robert Erdely, and I are opposed to this amendment.
Thank you very much. Tanya?
We have Ralph Reed next.
Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed.
is shown as in the meeting, but that's okay. We'll move on to the next one, which is Jim Newton, please.
Mr. Newton,
Hello, can you hear me?
we can.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I've just, much like the others, I've heard most of the objections that I had in my head, but in my letter, my main concern is the precedent in all of this. And there are people who work or maybe they're an artist or something in the area, but people don't have to, they don't have to need 5 parking spaces to run those businesses. They're really small. This one, even though it's going to be part-time, why have 5 parking spaces for a part-time thing? Like, you shouldn't need that much room. Another thing I noticed in the presentation, the previous presentation, was that there were hydro lines running near that new building. And I'm wondering if the applicant has consulted with Hydro One as to the distance that building is from the hydro lines, because there is a limit. And if you're within it, you're going to get to tear that place down. I would love to have a garage at my place, but I can't put it up because of the hydro lines being too close by about 3 feet. So I would encourage him to inquire that with Hydro One if he hasn't already. And finally, maybe I could put up a carport at my place and then down the line improve it to a garage and then come with a fait accompli to make an application for amendment. But to me, that's kind of a backdoor way of doing things. So as far as I'm concerned, this whole thing is not only unnecessary, but it is borderline devious. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm completely opposed to this, and that's the end of the line for me. I'm not going to say any more.
Can I have your address, please, Mr. Newton?
Yes, mine is 3540 Rock Crossway Lane, which is on the other inlet that the applicant is on. But I'm still on the bay that would get messed up by this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last person we have online is Nicole Barrow.
Barrow? Yeah. No one else. All right, so we have no one else online to oppose this application. So I will now, yes. You have to go to the microphone and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Patty MacDonald, and I'm on Fairy Lake Island. I hadn't intended to say anything, and I don't have any particular opposition or support for it. But a number of things have occurred to me in listening to all of the folks here. And unless you're actually on the lake and use the roads or get around by boat, it's hard to actually envision what's being suggested. And I know there's been a lot of focus here on the roads and people coming in by car. But for a lot of people, especially where I am, I'm a 5-minute paddle away, but I'm a 25-minute car ride. And so, yes, if I was going to do what Dr. Luckenach was suggesting, I'd probably go over to the marina, get in my car and drive to one of his spots. But I also have a kayak and a canoe. And so it would be much more pleasant for me to go through the Lost Channel and get to his property. The trouble with that is, back in 2018, I discovered starry stonewort in my bay. I had no idea what it was. It's one of the invasive species that you referred to earlier. And at that time, there were 3 areas on the lake that had it. One was on the Juniper Point side, one was in my bay, and the other was down on Upper Stony. At that point, there were 3 sites on the lake. It's now 2026. They're close to 100. They're close to 100 because people didn't understand how it moves and fragments. And unfortunately, and I've been in this bay many times with Brenda and the group, it's very shallow. And there's a lot of starry stonewort in there. And I understand that the intention is to come by car, but I would imagine that there might be a lot of people who would prefer to come by boat. So it's just something to think about. There's no managing starry stonewort, there's no removing it. But if it continues to fragment and moves from one part of the lake to the other, luckily on our side of the Lost Channel, it hasn't. But down by Upper Stony, it's all over the place. So I just add that as something to for your consideration. Thank you.
All right, so if there's no one else that appears that is going to speak that's sitting here, so I'll now bring it to council. We have the opportunity now to ask any questions or comments while we have the owner here and the agent and our planner. So who would like to go first? Councilor Heath.
Thank you, through you. Just looking at the plans here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 parking spots plus a barrier-free parking spot. And in DMW's presentation, you said that there was room for a couple more. How many more are we looking at doing here that we have people that are concerned about encroachment moving forward? And we're already, I may be mistaken, but it seems like we're already speaking to it.
Is that on? Yeah. So through the mayor, so the 5 parking spaces were required by the township in order to service the home occupation. We commented at the time of the pre-consultation meeting that we would never use that many. However, they've stated that it's still a requirement to provide that many. I was suggesting that there's lots of room for parking to address the concerns that there wasn't enough space on the property for parking, as I believe was noted in a couple of letters.
Councilor White.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sennis. I have a couple of questions to pair through you. The first, I want to understand some of the things that have been talked about in the various letters and representations. The difference between the garage that was originally applied for. Was there any indication in that application that this would turn into a home business, or when approved, was this simply as a garage? Do you recall what the application was for back in 2022?
Through your worship, the application is for a detached garage. Likewise, the building permit issued was for a detached garage.
So there was no indication at that time that this would turn into an application or zoning bylaw amendment for a home business?
Through your worship, that's correct. There's no indication at that time.
Okay, thank you. If I could, Mayor, a couple of other things that were noted. There's between a type A and a type B. A type A, as I understand it, is an artist, an author, someone who's not bringing businesses, customers in. But type B is a business that is bringing customers in. Am I correct in that assumption?
Through your worship, generally consistent. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, something that the representative from DM Wells mentioned is a type B. There's a number of height restrictions and setback and other things that must happen with a type B structure. Does the structure as built now fit all of those type B restrictions? And
so through your worship, so the deal with home occupations is that on a general basis through our zoning regulations, they're only permitted within the principal dwelling. So in this particular case, because we're building in a specific, site-specific regulations to allow it to exist in an accessory structure, as well as the gross floor area of that home occupation within that accessory structure. Beyond that, just the general regulations apply to accessory structures.
Okay.
So as it stands, within this zoning amendment, this is what's required to legitimize the use of that facility for the proposed use.
Okay, thank you. My final question, if we could. The notion of a hydro line was brought up. Is that something that you have looked at, the proximity of that building to the hydro line? Robert?
Through you, your worship, it was identified on the building permit application that the building was proposed to be 4.8 meters away from the overhead wires, which would be the maximum swing distance. The building was mistakenly placed even closer to the road, which would extend that. So from the building department's perspective, we have no concern with regard to that. They've met and exceeded the minimum or the maximum required swing distance for those overhead hydro lines.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Senes. Got a bunch of questions here, but I'm gonna try and keep it to 2, maybe 3. Fine. I live on a private road, on a lake, and this time of year, we can get one car down the road with the amount of snow that's been piled. Unfortunately, I live near the end of the road, so it gets narrower and narrower as you get closer to my place, so we're constantly, we're 24 on the road, and with all the packages being delivered and everything, rarely do you go down that road without passing into the car already. And there's no home businesses on our road. You have to find a driveway to pull into to let the other car go by. So it's very challenging on a private road, particularly that's privately maintained as well, to manage traffic at the best of times. And certainly this time of winter with the amount of snow, it's really challenging. And you have to be a skilled driver to back into a completely white space behind you. So I understand some of the concerns around the traffic and that sort of thing. My question is for Per with respect to a comment around Scale Creek. You know, given the presentation of 6 to 12 patients, 30 to 40 minutes per patient, across all that calculation, the minimum is 3 hours for that, and the maximum would be 8 hours. Based on 8 hours would be 40 minutes, 12 patients. The lowest would be 6 patients, 30 minutes. So there's quite a range in what you're saying is going to happen there. We're saying 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 3 times a week. But the map that you've given me says it could be up to 8 hours on any particular day based on what you provided. So with respect to to Scale Creek, can we, does the township have the ability to put limits on the hours of service?
Through your worship, not through zoning regulation.
What regulation or how would that happen if we felt that was an appropriate part of this home business?
Yeah, so through your worship, this gets into an area that's not my expertise, but I believe it would get into the area of business licensing. And again, I'm not the expert on that, so I couldn't provide probably an adequate answer on how a business hours are regulated.
Anything from staff with regard to business permits, or we don't do that, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, we do regulate some businesses. Trailer parks come to mind, bed and breakfasts, but we don't regulate this kind of business. We don't have a license for that.
All questions. I was just going by what was in the presentation.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, this is intended to be very small retirement. I'm happy to work with both the community and the council members, whatever ways are best. I think there was a couple of conflicting numbers there because a lot of information came in from feedback from the community and from my consultants. The intent for myself is just keep my hands on helping people, keep serving people to some degree, but I don't want a big practice. I'm past the big practice. I like the idea of my associate I have now taking over a practice. I can send people in if they need an X-ray or something important. Otherwise, we're serving people mainly at the lake. Maybe a few clients who are coming from north, maybe a couple of my older seniors who might come up. And it would be, I'm estimating, because I can't tell you for sure, but I'm willing to work 2 or 3 shifts is what I call them, for 3 to maybe maximize 4 hours, so that's 9 to 12 hours a week. Usually midday, when there's not a lot of traffic coming in or out for those who work, we can go around cottage time, so it doesn't have to be Friday evenings or weekends. And that would be, I can't tell you, I put as a maximum, I think I would see in that time would be 10 people. Maybe, I'm not sure in my consultants if they said 12 or what the number was. I would expect 4, 8, something like that. And again, those numbers for me, this is a retirement, try and help people. Maybe some of the people who are here may be in trouble or help. I want to put a defibrillator there so that the whole community has access, including my association, place with concussions that happen on the lake with people banging their heads, people with headaches, people just trying to keep them active with arthritis, avoid hip surgeries and keep their knees going so they can enjoy the lake for a longer period of time. That was my vision. So it's small numbers, willing to work with the community and council.
Thanks for the clarification. Again, I wrote down exactly what was in the slide as far as the number of 6 to 12, 30 to 40 minutes. And I've done the math. I'm a math guy, so.
Yeah, and our apologies. There's just so many different levels of input.
Yeah.
As we were going through this and back and forth, and as you know, with the paperwork and timing. And if I've missed, I'll check if a letter to the association that somehow couldn't get through the email or whatever the case was. I'll back check that. So I'm not a planner. I'm not a, this is all new information to me going through, just trying to help people on the lake and keep my hands doing what I love to do. That's all I'm really here for.
I hear you. Now, clarity is very important when we get into this kind of situation. Follow-up question with respect to, and Councilor Boyko, I think, got most of the answer from me on the minor variance situation. It's a completely separate process from the zoning process that we're doing right now. I often question during minor variance meetings that the use of the building, and not many are asking, but I've got 10 years of experience on council. I've seen a lot of the garage turning into many different things that really wasn't spoken to when the garage minor variance wasn't opposed by the locals. So just a question around the site plan then, with respect to the parking. Is the driveway gravel or is it paved? Because I didn't see any markings for your barrier-free spot or anything like that.
Through the mayor, yes, it's gravel currently.
So again, how would you consistently show a barrier-free spot?
We'll be working with the building department through the building permit process to ensure that the spaces meet the barrier-free requirement.
So they will be marked somehow on a gravel driveway? I'm just, from an accessibility point of view, you're
Yep.
dealing with patients that have got
Yeah, through the mayor,
physical
typic-
challenges.
typically something like a posted signage would
Suffice that.
Yeah,
Okay.
from my perspective, I'm happy to do whatever is necessary. There's a patio area that allows people with disabilities if they need to. We made walkers or canes would be what we see, not often wheelchair access, but we'd obviously do whatever the county needs to help people out, especially those in need from the gravel. And there's an access area that goes straight onto some patio stone if it needed for wheelchair or a signage or whatever needed to happen, we make happen.
Typically barrier-free would have to be hard surface.
Yeah, there's hard surface right adjacent to the parking spot that's closest to the building. It's hard to see on those, but there's a patio area that they can drive, but we could designate right there. So the wheelchair access would go out onto that patio and the patio goes to the front door access.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just add to the accessibility comments and discussion. The Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee has provided comments on this particular application. The link to implementing that through our zoning regulation is we do have a section out requiring AODA compliance for accessibility. Those comments will be provided to Dr. Luckenach and DM Wells in order to implement those comments.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question for you. Back up there. Do you plan to operate 12 months a year?
I believe so. I live out there. So the plan is, I plan to travel a fair bit so that any people, I plan, give care to people who are there who need care in small numbers. I plan to be away for likely a month in most falls, up to 2 or 3 months in the winter. And because I have the access still to either my associate or referral in those times, people who could go into Peterborough. be taken care of. We have obviously the clinic there, which some people mistook as what this was going to try and represent. Has X-ray on, one of the only clinics with X-ray on site, and I've 25 years of working with the community and helping community and dealing with projects in the community. You know, that's if there was a concern somewhere along the line and somebody magically busy July weekend didn't want the practice for July week or whatever, I'm happy to work with neighbors and people within reason of what it would be to serve people and help people. Typically, chiropractic patients have chronic issues or want to remain well and healthy. So they come in to keep their bodies healthy. I focus on spine, foster nervous system, but also lifestyle, as I expressed before, giving lots of lectures. So we also get the hardworking people. I think of the metal guy down the road who does some welding. These are very hardworking people that to try and get to chiropractic are telling me, well, by the time I end my day and I go back and forth, I can't get there. And also my wood delivery guy. These are people who need care as well, but they work really hard and have a hard time getting to them. So they are in the community and would be well served by that.
All right, so we have a recommendation before us that we receive the information, affairs report, and that we defer a decision on the zoning bylaw to a future date following the consideration of the public comments that we just received. So is there someone willing to move that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councilor Boyko, favor. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute break. All right, we'll move on to the water financial plans for Lakefield. The first wave.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a couple of reports before council on Woodland Acres in the service area down there. So the first one is a requirement of the ministry with respect to financial plan. So we have to have a directional plan for 2026 to 2032. Cruising down through here. So I just wanted to let council know that it is consolidated at a really high level. And it just provides general direction on where we're going. Have chatted with Adam about the plan, and there's a thought that maybe in 2028, 2029, somewhere in through there, we'll have to make some additional investments in the system in terms of capital replacement, but that hasn't really been developed. It's not before council at this point in time. It's just a comment that council may need to look at this in the future. But at this point in time, it provides the 6-year plan. There's no adverse financial impact really for endorsing a plan. It does look at a very high level and confirms the long-term viability of the system. And while it informs the annual budgeting process, it doesn't tie council's hands with respect to setting the annual budget for that next period of time. So the first report then for council is on the 6-year financial plan. I'll ask or answer any questions if council has any.
Question.
Thank you, through Mayor Sennis. Thanks for the reports. Had the pleasure of living in Woodland Acres in the 80s before the new water system was put in there, and the water system in the original Woodland Acres leaked like a sieve. And so just a question: was that replaced when the new water system came in? And the 28, 29, is that part of that rebuilding? Because that's got to be 60 years old, that system in there now.
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. So there was a large amount of the old system that had received cement mortar lining, some replacement, different things. The booster station itself has received significant upgrade. The lagoon was decommissioned at that time. So all of that aspect was taken care of. Then there was the second phase of Woodland Acres was added on. So all that equipment is brand new. Well, brand new as to when it went in. And then also Summer Lane has been added to the east as well.
Right.
So that's where we're at the point where maybe in 2008, I would think Adam would lay out a 5 to 10 year plan at that point in time. We'd take a look at some of those mains that have received cement mortar lining. Some of the sewers actually had a Y yoke, so you had 2 services would come out and then go into one that would go into the main. So we probably look at maybe replacing those types of things like that. But at this time, we've got a fairly heavy capital plan in Lakefield, and there's nothing that's imminent in terms of failure or anything like that. So we feel comfortable at this point in proposing plans. So,
Thank you.
Any other question? If not, someone. Second, black, favor. Talk about the 10-acre budget.
sure, through you, Madam Mayor. So this is Department 32. It incorporates both water and sewer for the Woodland Acres service area. As I mentioned, that's both phase 1 and 2 of Woodland Acres and the Summer Lane subdivision. So I worked through that with Adam and his staff. Operationally, this is the second full year of operation for our township staff, and that they've been involved in it. Lakefield Water and Sewer provides oversight. So how it's laid out with respect to financial documentation is that the Lakefield Water and Sewer staff take care of the system, and then we do an interdepartmental charge out for that system. We've reviewed that. The operational expenses seen in line. If there's anything specific to Woodland Acres, then that would be charged directly to Department 32. So it just as mentioned, carrying on with operations for the next few years. No major capital projects are planned. We are setting aside reserves as is typical. So that when we do those repairs, then we anticipate having reserve dollars that can use when they would have to see a significant increase in rates. So the rates as outlined there, we went through the PSAB compliance report for Woodland Acres. There's a budget narrative that Adam and the staff have put together, budget worksheets, and then a reserve summary. But it's proposed that there would be a 1% increase over existing, that just essentially maintains the operating budget, the base maintenance budget, and then that reserve contribution. In terms of year over year, it's $12.94, a little over $1.07 per month.
Any questions? Councillor Kim.
Thank you, through you. Just curious, we only paid for heating in the building once. And little bit water, sorry. Heating and fuel. It shows up once. The worksheet. Just curious about it.
Yeah, so to you, Madam Mayor, so we have a booster station there at the facility. So we only have one for water. We don't have a sewage building because all that just goes directly to the city field. So in that building, we would have communications back to Lakefield with heat provided to that the pumping.
Question? Anything one would like to pull from the consent? See none, I would like someone to move those consent items, please. Councillor Poulos, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. It's carried. Going to notice of motion. So Boyko, you don't need to read it.
Not a problem. I will not read it. I will, everyone has already read it. It's there. I'll reiterate, the purpose of the motion and what I was discussing in the last meeting. And that is that, I believe it, would be prudent that the next council, because none of the five of us may be here next December when we are in the middle of the budget process. Several people on major management staff will not be here. So therefore, I think the next council and staff that are going to be making the decision with respect to the link should have a current report that has current data that can be used so that staff and council can make a decision regarding the link going forward. Nothing in this motion says we should stop the link. Nothing in this motion says we should keep the link going. All it is saying is that we should have current data as part of next budget process to look at whether it should or should not go forward. If the decision is made that it's going to go forward or not go forward, nothing will happen until April 30th of 2027. I want to thank staff for helping to put this together so that it is worded in a way that makes the most sense. And you notice that we'll be looking at the criteria, or at least the next council will be looking at criteria with respect to ridership, the environment, finances, the possibility of partners coming forward. We may not have partners in place, but at least we will know by December where the status of that and what it's going to be looking at and the future of it. So with that, I won't read the motion, but I will move that motion. Notice of motion going forward.
Friends. I think we are so lucky to have financial partners because there aren't any other municipalities that I'm aware of that have this type of benefit from this type of partnership. So I'm hoping that it will continue for staff to negotiate because of 5 years. One that I'm happy that at least we have that. And we did have a report in the with the budget that talked about the considerations related to the income. One of them is for the gas tax, and I'm hoping that they will see their way clear to give us some money towards that, because we can get money for that from the gas tax if they feel that we are going to buy it. So I'm looking for, it's been moved and seconded.
Thank you, through Mayor. Just with respect to the 5-year agreement. So 5-year agreement with Trent and Sir Sanford and Kirk Lake. How can we do that without, when you're making conditions for the next council? Or is it a 1-year, like it repeats every, like it's follows each year, or like how could we have done a 5-year anyway?
Through you, when council gave direction last October to explore option, and I forgive me, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, regardless, to bring this forward in the budget and to go away and negotiate with the partners. When I went and discussed this with the partners, it was on the notion that we would enter into a 5-year agreement. So their financial commitment that they provided to us was based on us committing to a 5-year agreement with them. We already had agreements in place with them that were aligned with the CT grant that were over 5 years. So they were willing to enter into an agreement with us for 5 years. We won't be able to do that now. We'll have to enter into an agreement based on, if council approves this motion, the agreement will only go to April 30th of 2027.
Yeah, thanks for that. So by approving the 5-year agreement, council would have been approving the link for the next 5 years.
Sorry, and just to be clear, like every agreement that we have, we would also have notice provisions in there. So if council decided that they didn't want to continue the service, we would be able to give notice. I apologize, I can't remember what was in the existing agreements, but it was either 3 months or 6 months. I'm not sure. So if council had decided at some point in the future, and in the future, if council does decide that they don't want to continue the service, they would have to give notice in accordance with the agreement, which is very normal for a lot of the agreements that we enter into with service providers.
When you say now that we can only negotiate a 1 year, that's not necessarily correct. We could negotiate a 5 with an out clause. Why couldn't we still negotiate the 5 and say there's a 3-month discontinuance?
Well, right. I think the direction from council is you're going to April 30th of 2027.
For this year's budget, but there's been no decision to discontinue it at this point. So I still don't understand why you can't negotiate a 5 with that.
You should write that up.
Yeah. Put it in my mouth. I'm pretty close to it. Yeah, so I mean, council with that resolution is not saying we're not going to go forward with it. It's been no different than the agreement we've had in place until now. So I still don't understand why we can't negotiate a 5 and stay with a 3-month out clause, 3 months notice.
I could try to make that. I could try that. Yeah, quite frankly, based on the motion that came forward, my plan was to actually not even enter into a whole new agreement with the partners, to actually just seek an MOU and extend the existing agreement that we have with them by this time frame, and just use the existing agreements that we have with them.
With the new amounts.
Correct. Yeah, and this is all based on them agreeing. Like I have to go back to them and say, this is what's been decided, and they have to agree to this.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a mover and a seconder. Can I get a vote, please? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right. We have bylaw.
Thank you. So we have one bylaw, number 17, to authorize a merger agreement This is with respect to a severance for Young and Wilson in Ennismore.
Someone move that bylaw. That's Poulos. Seconding, all in favor. Carried. For a new bylaw. Sir Boyko. Sir Henry seconding, all in favor. Carried. And adjourned. Sir Henry and Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. Good afternoon.